Hello everybody and welcome to episode 5 of Cooldown Timer. I am your host, Alex Jones.
And I'm Floyd Buchanan.
He is.
Good God, you're so overdramatic.
I know, I live to be
I hate your intros.
So we tried doing some recording last week of episode 5, and we basically just spent like 3 hours sitting here trying to make a podcast.
Oh, you made it too strong.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's very rare.
And things just did not work. We tried and we tried and we tried. And the closest thing to an actual episode that we had going was derailed by me obsessing over a song that I remembered but couldn't remember where it was from, and nobody else could remember where it was from, but everybody else remembered hearing it.
However, that moment when we figured it out,
of course,
was at one of my favorite moments of my life.
It was Lugia's song from Pokemon 2000. It was... What are you doing?
Trying to get bars. There we go. I'll just leave that back there.
You're trying to still download it?
Yeah.
Floyd is trying to download the iPhone version of Farming Simulator 2012.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I've always liked simulation games. I don't know.
You can drive combines in that one.
Hey, I've driven one in real life.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Was that a combine or a tractor?
No, I drove one of the giant tractors, and then I just was playing in the combine. It didn't actually go anywhere, but we turned it on and he showed me how to use. Dude, they're so cool. They're all driven by a freaking iPad. Really, it's like autopilot.
My girlfriend's stepdad runs a 8,000-acre farm, and so we visited there recently.
You sound like such hicks. I work at a farm.
I know, right? And when I originally got this app like 2 days ago, part of me in the back of my mind was like, well, they use officially licensed machinery, so maybe it'll give me something of an advantage when I try to, talk with her stepdad, so I'll actually have, something to talk about, and I don't know. Speaking of giant machinery...
Oh, boy.
I went to the dump the other day. We had some stockpiled trash that we just needed to get rid of, and so we went to the dump, and that was an experience for me. I haven't been to the dump recently.
You know that you're sheltered.
Yeah, I know, right? And a little bit of backstory, our particular dump...
Our dump needs backstory. That's all you need to know. Our dump is weird enough and crazy enough to need backstory. Well, they try to hide it from the road. They put up like
the line of
giant
trees.
Well, they have and they have that giant line of trees, and then they have that big mesh stuff. There's nothing here. It's like they're gonna put up a green screen and then just make sure it's not there.
Well, the thing is, that's not that's the old dump.
I know. Our new one, its spawn is just down the road.
So our normal dump, what should be, or what was at one point the landfill for the area, is full. So they built another one 10 miles south of it, but you can't dump stuff there. You have to go to the original dump, and they've got this big area, this big huge room. It was almost an airplane hangar that's you drive your truck into.
A small airplane hangar.
Yeah. You drive your truck into, and then they just direct you to back your truck out to a certain area, and then you just throw all of the trash that's in your truck into a pile on the floor outside, and if you need more space, you just drive your truck a little further forward and just keep tossing. And there was this huge loader, something there, with a giant bucket that was just zooming back and forth, just pushing all the trash into a corner.
I want to see two of those fight.
No, seriously, that'd be awesome, because I
don't know. I just love seeing big machines fight each other.
Even as a 22-year-old, I felt like a giddy child, just it was just back and forth, and just, oops, I backed over a couch. I don't care. It just,
I went there, I think last year. when I was doing that, trimming hedges and stuff for my girlfriend's family, and I remember that. But we had just like brush, so nothing exciting. But yeah,
man,
nowhere fancy with that comment.
But the other thing that was kind of just totally weird for me was when we got there, when I was taking the trash bags and, you know, being careful to gently just toss them outside.
Okay.
But my dad was just like grabbing and throwing them.
Yeah, that's the fun
just
part.
Like, huh. Well, and yeah, no, I'm gently tossing, he's throwing, and then the loader comes by and just pushes it into a corner, and I was just like, it's just gonna get crushed anyway.
Right.
There's just that totally different mindset of like, this stuff used to have value at one point.
I don't know why, but
it doesn't anymore.
I don't know why, but my mental image is of your dad as a pirate, like just throwing stuff off of a ship.
It's the mustache.
It's the mustache. Your dad does look a little bit like a pirate. He also likes things like a pirate. He gets stuff.
Just collecting his booty.
Yay!
Yay, booty.
Tutorials. I just got my farming simulator downloaded.
Yeah, that's the acceleration. You take it and you drag it forward to go forward.
Zoom. And I'll look at this later.
And then that. Okay, yeah. Trash. Right. Okay, but yeah, no, just that like totally. This stuff once had value, but it is totally meaningless and valueless now, and it's just gonna go into a pile to rot for the next 300 years.
That's deep, man.
Reminded me of that episode of Futurama. I know you didn't like it, but
yeah, it wasn't me.
There was this episode in like late first season, early second season, where this giant trash ball was coming to Earth, and they kind of go into the backstory.
You mentioned this, yeah.
Where there at some point. Okay, so the basic premise of Futurama is this dude from basically now-ish gets frozen in time for 1,000 years, and he's living life in the year 3000. And so the idea of this episode was that fairly shortly after he left, like, there was a big garbage crisis, and there was all kinds of garbage everywhere, and people were like, I don't know what to do with this. So they all stuck it into a ball and launched it into space. And now the ball of trash is coming back. And it's, dude, like the mass of the thing is just all squishy or whatever, and so they wouldn't be able to launch a rocket into it, you know, Armageddon style, to get rid of it, because the rocket would just go right through. So they're like, the only way that we can get rid of this is if we hit it with something that is the same mass as it, like another ball of trash. But this is the future, and everybody recycles, so there's no trash. So they learned how to make trash in order to make a giant trash ball to launch the giant trash ball that was coming to Earth into the sun. But now there's a new giant trash ball that they created.
I was going to say, the obvious thing to do here is just to launch it into the sun, right? Of course. I mean, that's what any I don't know. I really did not like the art style of that show, and I know that sounds like super snotty, but I tried.
Well, you're an artist, so of course you didn't like the art style. Or, I mean, of course that would be the issue that you would have.
It was really hard to get into for me.
I had an issue with one of the characters, Zap Brannigan.
I have an issue with him too, and it's his name.
He played this really, really, like, idiot pilot that kept coming back, and like, okay, I think the first time I guess this was the first episode with him, but the initial thing that just turned me off to the character was, so they've got the ow, close your DS, it burns my eyes.
You wuss.
Ow. So the first thing that kind of just turned me off to him was this scene where, so there's the character of like Lilu or Lily or something.
Something, yeah.
And they portray her as this, you know, this hardened, independent woman, whatever. And I just got so frustrated with the way that they played her in that, because they play. This has been something that's been so frustrating to me, but I don't know how to verbalize it. They destroyed the progress that they seem to have been trying to make in building this independent, strong woman by making her susceptible to obviously shallow attempts to sleep with her.
I see.
And so, like, Zap Brannigan is doing all these horribly stupid, like, shallow, like, player moves on her, and they work. And I just got so frustrated with the fact that, like, if you're going to build an independent character, like an independent woman character that's really progressive and trying to change gender stereotypes, and then you do that, that's... Oh my gosh! I just got so angry.
I see. It's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
Let it go.
Okay. That brings me to something that actually has to do with video games. A lot of people who are, the big influential people in the game journalism world are kind of starting to notice something of a hypocrisy amongst gamers, in that on one side, they're trying to get video games accepted as an art form and, be taken seriously. But then on the other side, when people try to critically engage with video games, and they don't share a like-minded, highly positive opinion of it, then people, like, spam and flame their reviews of it. Like, most recently, this had to do with, like The Last of Us. Like, people got angry that like,
so good.
Polygon gave it, like, an 8 because it wasn't either a 9 or a 10. And I understand where those, not the people complaining, but the people complaining about the people complaining.
Wow! That requires more thinking than I have been made today.
And The Last of Us was very good. It was actually
so good.
Weirdly structured in that it was almost episodic. Yeah.
It's so hard for me to find a good balance between story, character, gameplay, and then, like, also the progression speed of a game.
Yeah,
it's really hard to find. That's one reason that it was so hard for me to get back into Skyrim, because I love Skyrim, but it's just like getting through all that initial story stuff that you pretty much have to do. It's like, I don't want to walk to the darn tower. It's just over there, but I don't want to walk out
Apparently, the
there.
opening bit is horrendously nauseating on the Oculus Rift.
Oh, I bet.
The part where
you
like,
get forced down and stuff.
Yeah, where you get forced down before you get decapitated, or threatened to get decapitated.
There's a glitch in that game. Well, not a glitch, but just something that can happen. There's a perk you can get where standing power attacks can behead people with swords. And that actually goes for people against you too. It's very, if it's a killing shot and they're using a power attack, there's a small chance of that happening. It's never happened to me. But apparently if you're playing in God mode, you'll lose your head, but you'll still be alive.
Oh, God.
I know. I wanted to do that and then just play the whole game like that.
Headless. Oh, gosh. Would it reset after you, like, restart the game?
I don't know. I've never done it. That's never happened to me before.
Oh, glitches. This is gonna bring us back to that topic that we keep coming back to regardless of whether we want to or not. But Pokemon!
Well, Pokemon is going to come up tonight because I bought Pokemon X the other day. So it's just bound to happen.
So, I don't know, like my first experience with game glitches was Pokemon Blue. There were two prominent glitches that I remember. There was the reproduction glitch where, like, if you had an item in a certain slot and then you went and talked to the old guy in, like, Viridian City or something who taught you how to throw Pokemon, and then you went back down, like, flew down to Cinnabar and, like, surfed on the edge, you'd get a missing no.
Yeah. And
then if you killed the missing no, if you faced the missing no, it would duplicate whatever the item was. I had a huge party full of, like, level 100s because of the duplicated.
The first time
candies.
I ever really played Pokemon, I played with somebody. Like we both started around the same time and decided that we would get to the end and then we would fight each other. That was our whole... We never fought up until that point. We had no idea. It was actually a lot of fun, though. And you can't... That's one thing that I kind of miss. You can't really do that with the newer games as much. I feel like it's just so easy to trade and stuff online.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just like, all right, we're not doing anything until the very... So neither of us had any idea what party or anything anymore.
Yeah.
And so we get to the final thing, and I got there before him, and I was like, I'm bored. So I started farming with that cheat, the rare candies, and I got my Pokemon up all up to like the max level. And so did he, because we were like, well, now we both got to be level 100. So we had all level 100 Pokemon.
Gosh.
I smoked his ass.
Who was that?
Ringo's brother.
Oh,
Pringo.
Gotcha. Pringo.
Yeah, he we did like 5 or 6 rounds and he never won. Except one time with a glitch, ironically. There's a glitch where you can like unplug the cord from the Game Boy, and it makes it where like a Pokemon using self-destruct won't die. So he kept doing that. I was like, that doesn't count.
Oh, God.
But I used the full Psychic team, and he had almost an exclusive Rock team, so you can see how that would have gone.
No, I can't, because I don't know the...
I had Psychic and Ghost.
Is Psychic good against Ghost?
What? Ghost? Okay, Ghost...
Or is Psychic good against Rock?
If I remember correctly, Ghost can't be hit by any physical moves in the original game. But one way or another, he could hardly hit me with anything. And I had like all the friggin'... I don't remember. Anyway, it was fun though, and it was a moment of great victory for me. But yeah, I'm actually having a lot of trouble building my team for this one. I'm disappointed that I can't use the Pokemon that I had ready for this game.
First world problems.
Yep, it really is. But oh well.
In entirely unrelated news, Floyd and I went to the store the other day. The other day was Halloween, and neither of us were doing anything, so we just kind of were like, okay, let's go do something. So we went out, we got yakisoba, and then we went to Safeway and just got some candy, and then just munched on our own lunch.
Everyone at that Safeway was so talkative and friendly that night. I was like, I just want to stay here with you guys. They were all cheery.
Do you have a copy of The Conjuring still? The one that's on sale?
That chick was hilarious. And then they were just sitting there talking.
I heard it's good.
Just sitting there talking about horror movies. I'm like, I don't know anything about horror movies.
And they start asking us our opinion on it. Like,
yeah, I'm like, you don't want us to get into this. We're movie snobs.
And I had actually just earlier that day watched the Cinema Sins on The Conjuring.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I watched last night a movie for a reason that I've never watched a movie for. To see if Sean Bean died in the end. Which
did he die?
Which spoiler alert, he did. It was this movie called like Black Death or something.
Yeah, Black Plague,
he got ripped in half.
Of course he did.
But in a very Sean Bean fashion, it was after giving an epic speech about stuff and then showing that he had the Black Death and was going to spread to all these evil witch people.
Gosh.
Then he got ripped in half.
There was a meme going around about Sean Bean. It was like Sean Bean, and then it had the the way that they have birth and death stuff. It had his birth year and then a hyphen and then this year, and he started listing all the years he had movies that he died in. Man,
I don't know, like, I'm honestly curious if he's ever survived a movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has to have some point.
At least one.
Not
I know
very
for
many.
certain at least one.
I wonder if it's just like his thing now. He's like they call him in for a movie thing. They're like, all right, we really want you to be in this movie. He's like, do I die in the end? Then no, thank you.
When BSG was on, they would do these supercuts of like all the times that they used the word frack. I'm sure somebody has done a supercut of all the times that Sean Bean has died.
Seriously. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll show any of those. Today we remember Sean. Save the hobbits!
Yeah, he always has like an epic death because he's like such an epic looking person. I mean, he looks like someone straight out of Skyrim.
Yeah. No.
He really does.
Especially on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
half the characters in like the
Game of Thrones feels like it takes place in a similar world. Both of them take themselves very seriously.
I'm so excited for season 4. Man.
I need to get back into that. I haven't watched that in a while.
Back into that. You're missing out. Oh my gosh! End of season 3. Something happens.
Game of Thrones though just makes me want to play D&D. Well, because my world was originally spawned from a combination of Game of Thrones and Skyrim. I mean, I took the things that I loved about those and I was just like, all right, let's build a world. And thus it was created. I told you what I wanted to do with the map for that world, right?
Other than make it by hand?
Yeah, I want to make it on rawhide.
Oh, yeah.
Just for fun.
I know you've mentioned that.
Well, because Mufasa and I, he DMs a campaign, and we found out that our campaigns had similar things in them. So we ended up combining the worlds into one world.
Gave him permission to...
Yeah. So we're on separate continents, but they're like right next to each other, and they actually have interaction in the lore. And we're just kind of working the lore together. And it's a lot of fun just to be able to work on world building with someone else. But I'm eventually going to build a map of both of our worlds together. And I want to do that on like a big 5-foot piece of rawhide with like runes and crap. And
here's the question. Considering the map distortion that occurs when you flatten a round map, how are you going to do it? Are you going to do it with the little pointies at the top? Or are you going to make Iceland huge? The equivalent of Iceland. Or are you going to do it in
well, the thing is, though, is that...
What if they did it back then and they didn't know those things?
Well, the thing is, though, is that, like, our worlds are... Mine takes
They're
place...
square.
Well,
It's a square planet.
Mine takes place in a very small country.
Floating through space on the back of a turtle.
Yes. No, anyway, mine takes place in like a fairly small country. Like, I mean, it's big, but it's small in comparison to the thing.
How does the atmosphere work in Discworld?
Shh. Wizards did it.
That is something that has always frustrated me about the little that I know about Discworld.
Hold on. That's what frustrates you about Discworld?
That's all I know about it, is that it takes place on like a plate on the top of a turtle?
No,
top of two elephants?
No. It's a disc world on top of 4 elephants.
4 elephants.
On top of a giant turtle swimming through space.
How does the atmosphere work?
Magic.
How does gravity work? Magic. Are there people that live on the underside? No. What about the people that live on the elephant?
There aren't people that live on the elephant.
There should be. Why wouldn't there be?
Does
the elephant breathe air?
No.
How does the turtle swim through a air or waterless space?
Because he's the great A-twin, or however they pronounce it. Dude, the whole point of that story is that they start you off with that going, this is going to be a ridiculous book. Get used to it.
No.
Everything. It's a political satire. That's what that whole book is.
Shrek was just on in his house, and I was watching. It's like, okay, what about the fact that Fiona reproduces in some of the later movies, but she's born from human parents, so does the magic curse that is cast on her add chromosomes to her genetic coding? Or... what's up with that, yo?
Okay. I have a problem with this.
What about the frog and the friggin' snake that get inflated by just blowing in them, and they're just floating there in the sky, and then they just let them go and float away? The rip frog and snake.
Yeah. No, you can't complain about anything that happens in a fantasy with magic that's kind of ridiculous, because
I can and I will.
Because... the curse, and I think of it like the curse made her into an ogre. Physically, she is an ogre genetically.
Why did Dumbledore have to be so stupid and like just leave all of the telling of things to Harry Potter until after he died?
Because
J.K. Rowling didn't know where she was going with the story.
Yep.
That's why. Stupid turtles flying through space.
Speaking of turtles, isn't there a Ninja Turtle movie coming out?
Yep, where they're aliens. Michael Bay.
Go away, Michael Bay. Because that makes no sense. Teenage Mutant.
Alien.
Not Teenage Alien Ninja Turtles.
Too bad. And after Megan Fox is homies with Michael Bay again after their very public post-Transformers 2 breakup.
I didn't know they were together.
Oh, not like together, but like she called him like a misogynist or something after Transformers 2, and Steven Spielberg told him to cut her, something along those lines, and that's why she's not in Transformers 3. But apparently they made good again, and the homies and all that jazz.
I don't know, or I don't. Michael Bay makes big exploding movies.
That he does.
Which they have their moments.
They have their moments
with me, but I don't care about them most of the time. So I kind of don't really care about Michael Bay.
Big exploding movies.
Or Megan Fox, because she's just annoying.
Big explodey, big explodey.
Yes, that is what I said.
Ronald Emmerich also makes a certain type of movie.
Yeah.
2012, Godzilla, Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow.
That man's depressed.
End of the world disaster movies.
Maybe he's a conspiracy theorist.
His most recent movie was about the fact that Shakespeare didn't write the Shakespeare plays, or that Shakespeare wasn't Shakespeare, or something.
That man is demented.
Speaking of Godzilla, I'm actually kind of excited for the new Godzilla movie, but not because it's a Godzilla movie.
There's a new Godzilla movie?
There will be. Shortly.
I didn't know about that.
The director was, I don't remember his name, is like Garrett something or the other, and he cut his teeth on a, speaking of, that is a really weird like phrase. That is the
cutting your teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to do with, you know where it comes from, right?
Not a clue.
It has to do with babies. When their teeth are coming in, it's called cutting your teeth when your teeth come through your gums.
Whatever, dude. Whatever, English. He cut his teeth on a...
But it just makes you kind of go, fighting metal.
An independent sort of monster movie. It's about these people in this version of Earth where like aliens landed or something. Some creatures exist in this part of like Mexico or something, and they put up like these giant walls so that people would go in there and get killed by the monsters. And so people have to go from one end to the other end for one reason or another. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, a much more subdued, character-driven piece.
Right, right.
And that's what he did before this. It's called like Monsters or something like that. It's on Netflix.
So I just had a fun idea of something that we could do together.
Does it involve
for the podcast?
Licorice?
No, but it should. I love licorice.
And none of that red vine crap.
Yeah, that's not licorice. That's freaking red vine. Anyway, we should like pick like a bad movie or just a movie in general and watch it and then complain about it next week.
Oh gosh.
And then like if people left us like an idea of another movie, we could watch that movie as long as it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime.
Speaking of, we have an email address that you can contact us at. It's contact us.
Hard to remember.
CoolDownTimer.com. Contact us at CoolDownTimer.com. That reminds me of how, like, when you leave a voicemail, you, like, give your phone number, and then you do it a second time, just in case, like, they couldn't hear you the first time. Like, I'm so-and-so, and blah, 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 blah. My number is...
Why do you leave a voicemail, your number on your voicemail, if someone else called you?
No, you are calling them.
Oh, on a voicemail you leave.
Yes,
okay.
to make sure that they actually get your number.
I thought you said I thought you meant like on a voicemail.
My number is 553-355-7735.
No, you forgot 555 in the middle there.
I was going to do that, but then I don't know. My number
Where did that get started?
The 555. I don't know.
I'm super curious.
Heck if I know, man. Ooh, as kind of a follow-up to last week's episode when we were talking about D&D, Mr. H, who was a wonderful guest, suggested that I check out this other tabletop RPG system called fate. And I did. And I actually have kind of enjoyed it. And of course, I have been GMing, so some of the pacing issues and the purpose and point issues aren't there for me because I know exactly where it's going.
That game makes me both excited and angry at the same time. Like, it really does.
Floyd is kind of ingrained with his D&D mind. And
well, it's not even
frustrated
that.
With
it's just, it has to do with every freaking game ever made. You have a money system, damn it. If you're going to be able to buy stuff, you have money. You have currency. You don't go, I roll resources. I have enough money to buy that.
No, you don't have enough money to buy because I set the passive thingy against you or whatever.
Because it's like having money. And it's like, I have $100. Hey, that costs $50. No, it doesn't. Now it costs $75. I can still buy it. Now it costs $101. It's just like, it's complete luck on prices and crap. And that's weird to me. And like the fact that you can go out and buy a loaf of bread and not have enough money because of a really bad roll, and then go out and say, hey, look at that car. I want that car.
The thing
and
about
then just roll all
fate, though,
pluses. And
is that it's more about telling a cool and interesting story than in like the specifics and individual intricate details of I can only carry 7 things of this, 8 things of that, and I can only use my gold and my silver to get 5 of those, or else I can't make the story progress.
But that's part of it.
That is stupid!
Part of it.
That is part of the meaninglessness. Well, I'm gonna go grind me some money because I can't progress this damn story that I am sitting here to listen to because you can't just give me the damn money!
No, but money's never part of a progressing the story. Never. It's not like, collect this much money to move on to the next level.
Lightheaded.
It's not about like the money, because the money is just to upgrade your character. And I
don't care about that.
There is a chart in there that shows you how much money you should have per level, and then the DM just has to go, all right, I'm going to give you this much money per encounter, this much money per, and then that money you can turn around, and then you can use that to upgrade weapons or armor or
cares?
Epic level stuff. And
that's just detracting from progressing the story.
It's making you more badass.
You can be more badass in other ways than having to count your books.
Count books? What the heck? What the heck do you mean?
Checking your books. Weighing your books. What's the phrase?
Measuring books.
Yeah. Measuring books, counting books, weighing books.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like the accounting books. You're like, you gotta. I don't want to have to. That's just superfluous stuff that detracts from progressing a story, in my opinion.
I think that stuff though is more for the player.
And that's why I hate playing it.
Yeah,
because that stuff is boring.
You might like DMing more than you like playing.
That's why I'm doing Fate, because I don't like dealing with the numbers. Because they just detract from progressing the story.
You don't have to deal with numbers except for in fights, really.
Exactly, and most tabletop campaigns have combat in some way or another.
Well, yeah, you have combat in some way or another, but like my world that I've done, I'm not a combat fan. Combat's boring.
Exactly.
I don't use much combat, and when I do, it's a very cinematic vision and version of combat.
But I can't visualize things in my brain like you can.
That sounds like a personal problem.
I can't stand the D&D system.
I think you're a little bit biased. And by that I mean I know that you're completely biased because you've never really tried it.
I've tried it as much as you have let me try it.
We tried it drunk.
We were tipsy, not drunk.
We were drunk enough to make it not a good experience.
I've played it more times than that, including that one time at the mall we tried.
Okay. I was with you every time you've played that.
It's true.
And none of those constitute a good experience with D&D.
So there's a time at your school, there was the time in the mall,
You come to one of our sessions. We're like up in each other's face pointing at each other right now.
Okay, I think the reason that I couldn't get into the one at the mall was because that was the first time that day was the first day that I had been out in public on this side of the state after Sally and I broke up.
Dude, I know you had it rough, but that was really, the night you guys actually broke up was so awkward for me.
We broke up the next morning.
That's right, whatever. Well, because we spent the night, the three of us were hanging out together that night, and then there was just this weird tension between you guys the whole night.
I knew it was coming.
And you reacted weirdly to it the whole night. And then, like, the drive home, you were, like, freaking out. And I'm
gosh.
like...
I did not sleep all that night.
And see, part of me was still mad at you. So I was really torn because part of me's going, I hate you.
Sally's and my relationship was kind of the culmination of a love triangle-ish
A love line.
thing between
A love quadrangle.
her and me and Floyd.
I liked her. She liked Alex. Alex
Was oblivious for 5 years.
Yeah. She chased him around. I chased her around. And around we went.
And I was chasing other girls who really, well, one of them didn't care for me and is now dating a rich guy. And the other one cared for me, but I ran away from... Yeah, just... Oh, and then, okay, so I spent that day, like, just moping around, like, partially hoping that I didn't see her at the mall, but then part of me was like, I want to see her again.
Right. We were such...
And then we ended up seeing her at a party at Nicole's place later that night, and she had no idea this was the first time that we had seen that we would have seen each other.
I don't remember having a party at Nicole's place because I have a really weird relationship with her. With Nicole.
You made Sally spit and laugh because you said Obama.
Well, that is a hilarious thing to say.
In Nicole's kitchen. And we were playing some game where we had to write things down on pieces of paper, and Sally was talking about how she knew both of our handwriting and would be able to tell it apart or something.
That was like a life ago for me, honestly.
I know, right?
Like, it's so weird. Everything after I met my girlfriend is like a completely new life for me.
Well, you had met her a year and a half before that.
Okay, everything after school was like a year. It was like a life, a new life.
Yeah, no, I know. Seriously, that year
and
after,
like my memories, I was like, screw all that stuff.
That year after she and I broke up was a rough year,
dude. I know because you came to me for a lot of that stuff, and I'm going, don't kill yourself. I'm the depressed one. I've had a lot of issues with depression over the years.
Jeez, man. Oh, that was a bad year. Oh, like, I don't know. Like, I obsess over things and concepts and ideas, and in that particular year, I kind of convinced myself that she and I were meant to be together and would still, you know, be at some point in the future something would happen and she and I would be together and it was destined in the stars and all that jazz. And I mean,
been there, done that. With the same girl.
Yeah, I know, right? And so I kind of spent basically that year. And the thing was, I knew she. Well, okay. So some days I knew that she didn't have that opinion of me of me and our potential future. I think the most rough part of that year for me was like that tearing between who I wanted her to be and who I still was like in my mind wanting to be in a relationship with, who was the Sally I knew before we broke up, and then contrasting that with the reality of who she was and how she had wanted nothing to do with me.
You know what's really weird? Very close to the same thing happened to you and me with the same girl.
I know, right? No,
as in, like, I made her into something in my head. Oh, and I mean, the same as you.
Girls, man, girls.
Dude, I hated being a teenager. It friggin' sucked.
Oh,
I had the worst teenager years.
The ups were high and the lows were low.
Yeah. All those freaking emotions, not knowing where to go and just screaming around in your head.
mean, just following.
For any teenagers listening, it gets better unless you love it, and then it gets way worse. Well, that's one thing that I've always found weird. Those people who are like, "Oh, these are the best days of your life," and like high school movies. I've heard that
more about like, okay, I've heard that referring to two things. One, senior year in prom.
I know, and I'm like, what the frick? What, seriously?
And then college. And my mom,
I can understand
even said that to me, and I was like, if these are the best years of my life, I don't want to live. Because if this is it, if going to class every day and not being able to pursue my passions and my dreams, if that's not a part of what I would consider a more fulfilling post-college life, I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, but I can at least understand.
I don't know if that actually made any sense because
I don't know. But it's okay. I can at least understand how college could be something that you look back very, very fondly on.
Yeah,
you know, and saying like that was probably the best time of my life. I can understand that. But I mean,
But I mean, you have to hate your life at that point for those to be the best years of your life. There has to be like nothing like you have to not be able to like.
But here's the thing: not everyone is an artist.
A fulfilling life. I know, right?
And being an artist is more fun. That's what. Okay, honestly, like, and I love that we're getting in all this kind of deeper stuff at the end of the episode. I've really
make it longer.
I've really come to think about stuff and been like, what are some people living for? Because, like, you know, you and I, we're artists to some extent, one way or another. We're in completely different directions, but that's what makes it so beautiful. But yeah, we do art, and that's our thing. And I can understand people who are, I'm not a science person, but I can understand people who are like really into science and who love it and want to really get into science, because science in itself almost isn't art as much as
art appreciation.
Yeah. Yes. And I can understand those two things. And everything else I don't understand. I don't understand how there's anyone who's just like, yeah, man, I just really want to be a tax consultant.
No offense to any tax consultants.
Yes, you guys are awesome. But I mean, that was honestly like the first thing that popped into my head. I don't know why. My brain was with math, so... But yeah, and I'm just like, I mean,
of course, my girlfriend is a math major.
I thought she was doing theater tech.
She's a math and theater double major.
Honestly, man, if I could major in math, I hate math, but if I could major in math, I would.
I don't know where this was or why it came up, but I recently read something where, it was talking about how when you're talking about school and being smart and intelligent, how you'll initially start with, the basic idea of like, are you smart or intelligent? Or do you think you're smart? Or do you like school or whatever as the initial concept? And then the immediate next thing is oftentimes the person saying, but I hate math.
Right.
Kind of making that connection between the idea of intelligence with skill at mathematics or a passion for mathematics.
That's because, I mean, math is so important in everything. I really dislike math, but I wish that I was good at it.
Why?
Because, like, it's so important to everything I do. I'm in, like, friggin' Photoshop even, and I'm like, math. And then
Don't you hate it when you, like, have to, like, rotate something and it's just, like, friggin' 90.
No, because my new drawing pad, all I have to do,
89.6.
All I have to do is just go like this, and it rotates. And this is great radio right now because I'm making the gesture. But I just put my fingers on the drawing pad and I rotate them, and the whole picture rotates. I have a touchpad on my drawing pad. My girlfriend's wonderful. Yeah, I love that drawing pad. I've hit such a wall in drawing lately.
I mean, you have how many unfinished drawings right now? You have to come up with a logo for this show so we can put it on iTunes.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a decent half logo finished.
Okay. So I want to put this on iTunes so we can...
The problem with that is that just requires Illustrator. I'm talking about drawing.
Nah.
I just have been so, like... I'll spend freaking hours drawing every day. I mean, when you're in there... If it doesn't say I'm playing a Steam game and I'm answering your Steam chats, I'm drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll watch a show while I'm drawing, but I'm just so, like... I've been trying out different techniques. I've been trying to try out different techniques and really find where my style sits and how to produce something using my style. And that's been kind of my goal lately. And like, I'll draw a sketch. I'll be like, all right, I'm just going to draw a dude. And I'll just like draw a face. And I'm like, I don't love it. I'll change something. I'm like, it's not good enough. Stop. No. And I'll sit there for hours changing this figure. And then I'll finally get it. And I'll be like, there we go. Now I can start coloring it in. And I'm like, I don't love it. And I'll just delete the whole thing. And I'll do that for hours every day. And I can't sit down and figure out something that's good enough for me to try out my style to actually be able to like move forward. Or what will happen is I'll go, okay, I have this idea in my head. I'm going to draw this character, and I'll draw a character. Like the other day, I drew this undead dude because I was like, I'm going to draw an undead dude. So
that reminds me, we need to watch the Returned pilot tonight.
The Returned, okay. Yeah. So I drew this undead dude. He's actually a character in a D&D game. And I drew him, and I drew him all out in ink first, and I'm like, he looks great. I love the way he looks. There's a billion lines. Now I have to color him all in and get rid of those lines and then start shading. And I'm like, oh, there's so much work, and I don't care about him that much. And I haven't gone back to him. That's what usually happens. I get to a point where I'm like, this picture is not that important to me. So I've been trying to start smaller. That's why I've been trying to do like faces and crap and just being like, all right, I'm going to draw this simple character, a simple background.
Like and work a little chibi dude?
No, I'm talking about like, I'm trying to find my style. That's what I'm really trying to do right now. Because I spent so much time looking at other people's styles that I kind of lost my own.
I recently... I don't know. I recently saw this video as like a TED Talk or something, and the guy was saying, the more you fail to become other people, the more you become more like yourself. Ooh. It was actually a really weird, like, weirdly profound performance art piece because it started out with this guy that looked Indian with a beard, wearing kind of like a traditional, like Indian as in India garb, and he had a Chinese lady with him, and so he starts talking in some language, and the Chinese lady starts interpreting for him, and he starts as you listen to the Chinese lady, she starts translating for him, saying that he really only has one paragraph in Chinese memorized, and he's saying that over and over again, and that he wanted to do that because he was actually raised in the UK and didn't want people to make assumptions based off of his accent. And so she was just saying something that she had memorized that he was wanting her to say while he repeated the same paragraph over and over again.
Weird.
It was weird.
Weird. Well, you want to end the episode?
Yeah, that probably... we got definitely a nice hearty episode this time. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to the 5th episode of Cool Down Timer. If you would like to send us fan art or emails or questions or requests for advice.
If anyone wants to send some like lame movie ideas,
right,
of movies that you think that we'll hate,
yeah, and that we can watch and rip apart.
Yeah, and preferably something that's like not very well known and is on Netflix or Amazon Prime, so we can get our hands on it, easily. Yeah, you could do that, and that would be awesome.
Send those to contact us at cooldowntimer.com.
Yeah, and
that's contactus.cooldown@timer.
Don't listen to him.
Contact us at cooldowntimer.com.
Yeah, you can listen to that. Anyway, yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much. Goodbye.
See you next week.
Toodaloo, foo.